guys, Chris from Phase Fun Creations. Today I'm going to start on the last order. This is actually an order for someone, very good friend of mine. Her name is Rachel. Rachel, if you're watching or if you happen to see this, we'll see you later. She has requested a gift for someone. And this individual really likes shades of purple. So I have picked out a few, and I don't know that I'm going to use all of them because I'm not going to make this entire thing full. It might be about half when it's all said and done. But I want to have to do it upside down, meaning when I flip this out, this will actually be the top side, kind of like my honeybee table. Well, not my honeybee, but the butterflies. So I know one of my colors is going to be my Let's Resin Galaxy because it does tend to throw some shades of purple. I've also got set out, and again, I don't know if I'm going to use all these or not, but cannot pronounce these. I haven't used these for a while. But we have a blue violet and a purple here. This is one of my favorites. It's a violet pearl. And it's very, very pale, very light. And this is kind of the colors that it shines. Looks white in the container, but it shows a very nice white violet color. It's one of my favorites out of the Baltic Day colors. Get that in focus, maybe. Here we go. Violet Pearl, Baltic Day. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this one. And then we have an amethyst, and I can't pronounce the other one. But they are both also by Baltic Day. Ambergine and amethyst. And the amethyst is really pretty. These are almost, they're not a color shifting, but they're more of the metallic micas, I guess. So, just kind of showing you the colors that I have in mind for use. And I have a couple ideas of what I want to do, but I'm not sure if that'll pan out or not. And then this one is a really, really pretty medium purple, I guess. So put those lids back on. I've got mica all over me and I haven't even got started. Then I have a grape. This is by Let's Resin. By the way, I now have a discount code. I will put that in my description in the bottom. This is a really, really pretty mica. I love this color. And I've already shown you the Galaxy. And then I have a couple other Let's Resin colors that I'm not sure about. I have a purple blue and a deep purple by Let's Resin. I have not used these. These are out of my new Let's Resin box, so they still have the lid or the caps on those. Let me go ahead and pull these off real quick. Ooh, that one's really pretty. This is the purple blue. It's supposed to be color shifting. So we'll see what happens if I use that one today. So there's that. And then the dark purple. I have not used it either yet. But apparently it does have a loose cap on it. But we'll take that off. This is supposed to be a color shift as well. So we'll see how that one turns out if we use it. So again, Miss Rachel, if you happen to see this video before it's finished, I'm hoping that these are colors that you will approve of or the person that you're wanting this for. Now this is supposed to be like a cutting board kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. I've also got a couple little things. I haven't used them. These are really, really super cute. I got these as a freebie from Julie Cut. I need to trim a couple pieces, but that's okay. They're silicone inlays. And, excuse me. And, of course, a couple flowers, dragonfly and the butterfly. And I thought those would be really pretty to use, like different shades of purples. And I might even throw in a shade of pink or a pinky purple for the flower or two. But if you look, they're pretty detailed. Get you back in focus here. Here we go. The details are really nice. Again, I have not used these, but I got them with the mold that I did my bloom the other day that we unmolded together. So these kind of came as little free incentives with this mold that I got from Julie. So Julie, I can't wait to use this. And I've had a couple other inlays that you've sent me before that I absolutely love. So again, I'm going to do these. I'm probably going to color these before I do the resin. So I'll be back. I'm going to go ahead and put some color and deal with that real quick. Then I'm going to clean out my mold really good with some tape. And then I'll be back. Alright guys, so I'm on my second piece, but I wanted to show you. I'm using a little bit of the Let's Resin Black out of my box of 60 colors. And my Fairy Green Intense Chameleon Powder, also by Let's Resin, on this butterfly. And this is all I have. Can't hardly see how much I have on there. That's how little it is. But guys, this Intense Chameleon is like astonishing. It glides on, and just a couple tiny little flakes are all that you need. That's too much. Right, I don't know if you can see that. But that'll do a couple little spots on this butterfly's wing. Like, look at this. Let's Resin has outdone their rivals. I mean, it is just absolutely perfectly pigmented. Look at that. Alright, so I'm going to finish up my... Oh, before I do that, I used... Let me set that one down for a minute. I'm a mess. I used a little black Let's Resin for his eyes. And I used... let's see here. Where's the name of it? I used my dark green for his body. And then I used a combination of my Let's Resin Violet on the bottom section of the wing. And then I used my Violet Pearl from the Baltic Day collection for the upper wing on the dragonfly. Just kind of give you an idea just how intense some of these colors really are. Alright, I'm going to finish up this butterfly and do a couple flowers, and then I'll be back. See you in a minute. Okay guys, so I just finished up my inserts, and I'll show those to you very quickly. And I used... What did I use? Of course, I told you about the dragonfly. So here these are. Now with the butterfly, I believe I used Galaxy for the wings. Because I used the dark... I used the Fairy Green on the little accents. And then I used my Galaxy on the wings themselves. For the flowers, I used, for the inside, Coral Rose on the daisy for the little accents down the petals. For this one, and you can't really see it, and that's alright, but I used a purple blue color shift. And then for the centers, I used the gold peach for the little middles of them. And for the petals, I used my Interference White by Let's Resin. So most of the products in this cutting board, display table, whatever she wants to use it for, are going to be used, or Let's Resin products will be used in this project. Again, like I said, there's going to be a few of my Baltic Day micas and things like that. Alright, so I'm going to be using my big cup, and I'm going to do about 3 cups to start, because I don't want it real thick right now. The reason for that is I have a couple different ideas on the different layers. I might do 3 layers, maybe. Meaning that I probably will not use all of the purples that I have here. However, along with my inserts, I want to pick out some of these purple flowers and some leaf combinations. Just to kind of give it a little bit of depth and things like that. So, with that being said, I could also use maybe some of the little butterfly mold that I have. If I can see. There we go. I need to clean this one up a little bit from the last use, but it's a little bit of alcohol, or no dog hair allowed. Some alcohol inks or something to that effect. I had a baby wipe laying here. Oh well. I don't know why I threw it away, but I threw it away. So, to start with my little butterfly mold, I'm going to use a little bit of my alcohol. I have not used the expensive alcohols. Like, what is it, the 91% or whatever. This is just my average dollar store, Walmart stuff. And it seems to work pretty good for the most part, as far as thinning out any bubbles and that kind of situation. So I am doing a real quick, and these little butterflies are so detailed, it's crazy. So what I might do is, I don't want to use black resin on this. Not because I don't think it would work, but I want some of the transparency on these if I do the butterflies. And because you're only going to see the front of them anyway when I put them in. Because instead of going like this, when I pop them out, they'll be down like this, facing the other side of this mold. So I'm going to get working on my resin, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I did my 3 cups of resin, and I'm going to set this off to the side for a minute because I've come up with an idea. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I'm thinking about like using one of my Let's Resin colors or something, or one of my purples, like a light purple, and just kind of dusting the outside edge. But I'm not sure if I want to like that or not. I'm thinking that, because I want it to kind of be like a vignette frame around the table, or the board. But I don't know. It's a conundrum in my head. So, getting some tape so I can clean it, make sure that it's clean. I'll be back in just a couple minutes and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I did do a bit of the interference on the outside edge, and I think that's going to be really pretty when it's finished. So now I'm just going to dump in this 3 cups of resin. That's a lot of resin, guys. It's really heavy. And start here in the middle. I did not add any color. I want this first layer to be clear, as clear as possible, and not very thick. And the reason is I want to be able to lay down my flowers and my inlays. And I might do, after this layer, and I pull out my inlays, I may do some more instead of doing the solid butterflies, like I did on my table. So what I might just do is pull the inlays out, give them a good wash, and then recolor them different colors and try that. So we'll have to wait and see how that works. Alright, let's get all of this out of here as much as possible. And then we'll give us a good spritz with alcohol and get it cleaned up for the next round, which hopefully can be this evening. I would really like to try and get these layers done fairly quick. It is supposed to be about close to 80 today, which means my craft room will be kind of warm. So theoretically, we should be okay in regards to this curing up pretty quick. And I do not see anything floating around in there as of yet. Alright, I want to go ahead and clean off a couple of this, or clean off my mixing spatula. That seems to be the one that gives me the most trouble. I have to order a few more of these. Alright, there's that one taken care of. And go ahead and try and get this cleaned off real fast. The quicker you can get these cleaned up, the less you won't have to worry about running some of your silicone mixing containers or your plastics and things like that. So I try very hard to get these cleaned out as quick as I can. And a piece of paper towel to dry it out. Matter of fact, I probably ought to order a couple more of these, to be honest. Okay, so ready for the next round. All clean. Set that there. I'm not going to torch this because I don't want to worry about that. I have plenty of room, however. So in order to do this, I used, like I said, not that one. Was it that one? Yes. Sorry, guys. I use my purple white interference, or purple ghost interference, and just a big fluffy brush. So now what I'm going to attempt to do is put my inlays in the resin. Yes. All right, so grab my tweezers. I think I'm going to do, and it doesn't really matter where they're at. And again, like I said, I will probably do some more of these because these are so pretty. Matter of fact, I think I have a larger one. That I got off Julie a couple years ago. You face him outside. Okay. Yeah, that is a pre-made inlay. All right, that's on a coaster mold. So I'm just going to leave those set. They're floating very nicely. As soon as this is cured enough, I will pop those out. Give them another little dose of alcohol. And as you can see, there's all 4 of them. And I'm not going to mess with them. Instead of doing more of those kind of flowers, I'm going to add a few dried flowers. And I'm not going to video that, but when I come back to take my inlays out, you'll get to see those. And I'm probably going to kind of put them in like an array around the outside and save the middle for something a little more, I don't know. Haven't made up my mind. Guys, help me out here. Come on. All right, so that's all I have for you for now. We did the 3 cups of, and it was Let's Resin. It's my 1-to-1 by ratio is by volume, not by weight. Working time was approximately, as if it tells me. It doesn't tell me on the jug. I think it was, working time was up to 40 minutes, I believe. So not real long, but not real short time either. So I'm going to get some of these flowers, and I'm going to go ahead and place a few. And instead of doing them all at one time, I'm going to do layer by layer, I believe. That way I can add a little more purple each time and kind of move everything into a center point. So right now that's the goal. But anyway, I will hopefully see you all in a couple hours to do the next layer and to pop those out. So I will see you all in a bit. Bye for now. Hey guys, I'm back. I think we're ready to take those out. As you can see, just a tiny little bit of my color stayed on my mold, or my inlay rather. However, look how beautiful that is. Get you a better picture here. Look how pretty that is. Such a beautiful pearlescent look in the center of that flower. So we have 3 more to do. So give me just a moment. Pull my chair up here. And get my little toothpick here and try to stay out of the frame. I tried to take these out a while ago, but it just wasn't really working out so good. So I'm going to see if we can get them out. Here we go. This one definitely came out much cleaner. A little bit of soap and alcohol, soap and water should get those cleaned up. Baby wipe, something small. I want to be gentle on my inlays because I don't want to tear them up. But I don't want to wait too much longer, even though I know I probably ought to, in regards to taking these out, because, here we go. Oh, that is better. Look at that. Very little bit left on the mold, or on the inlay. One of the reasons I don't want to wait much longer is because I want to be able to put the next layer on and not have too much of the divider line. That butterfly's coming out really good. This one will need a little bit of a clean up, but not by much. All right, those are so pretty. I'm really happy with that. That is beautiful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mix up another 3 to 4 cups. I'm going to mix it for about 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and we'll continue with this project. Once again, I'm going to go in with my Let's Resin brand resin, and I don't want to use a mica because it's going to cover everything up. So I'm going to have to find some purple pigment dyes or something like that. So I will be back as soon as I get my resin mixed, and we'll continue on. Alright, so we are under a minute with our mixing. Again, like I said, I went back in with my Let's Resin brand epoxy. And I've got about 40 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my alarm. Now, I have come up with kind of a compromise for what I wanted to do, I think. So we have our 3 cups. I hope you can see that. And I have put together, I think that's pretty much good for that. I mixed a couple different micro powders. One of the cheapies that I labeled a lavender is really pretty. It's kind of a pinky lavender. Just a real pretty shimmery mica powder. And I mixed my Let's Resin Color Shift Dark Purple. And I'm going to put those in about 4-ish ounces and mix those up. Now what I want to do with this is I'm going to put this also around the outside perimeter of the piece. Let that kind of spread for a minute. And then I'm going to dump what's left of my resin straight into the middle. And I think it's going to add a really cool effect. Especially if some of it gets down into like the dragonfly and the flowers or something, kind of give that extra background color to it. that. Help get those bubbles out of my resin. All right. So, without further ado, scrape off my little stir contraption. And I'm just going to go in and do roughly 4-5 ounces in the plastic cup. And then I'll set the rest of this aside for a moment. And we're just going to kind of mix those mica powder in together into this. And if I don't have enough, I can mix up a little bit more. I just don't want to make too much, and then it kind of cause an issue for when I pour the rest of it. I don't want it to kind of be real close to the center if it's, you know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see. Okay, it's super pretty. I think I'm going to add a little bit more of the lighter color. Kind of give it a contrast. I'm just going to throw it in there. As Claire would say from Claire's Creations, just chuck it all in. I love watching her. She's awesome. Anyway, we'll get this stirred up, and then let me give this a little bit of a spritz. And I'm probably going to spray a little bit on there, especially, I don't know. If I do, it's going to be from kind of high up because I don't want it to have any ill effects toward the mica powder that is in those flowers and the dragonfly and the butterfly. Because I don't know, I've never done anything like this. I mean, I have, but I haven't. If that makes sense. So, anyway, scrape that off. Get a piece of paper towel. Sorry guys, didn't mean to put my arm in your way. And we're just going to wipe this off for now and use it again later. Okay, and instead of adding any more alcohol to that, you can see the little bubbles popping up. And it actually does still have a little bit of those bubbles coming out. We'll go ahead and stir that up a little bit more. I should have sprayed that with the alcohol before I added my resin. Kind of made like a, I don't know, a runny paste kind of thing. It's so pretty. I think that's exactly what I was wanting. Alright, again, wipe off that stick. And just going to drizzle this around the outside edge. And I'm praying that it is not, too dark. But once I pour in the last bits of the clear, I think everything's going to be alright. Switch hands. And we'll finish it off over here. And there we go. Now, all right. It's too late to change my mind now. All right, turn this around. Scrape that off. Best that I can for the moment. And I'm just going to give it a good old-fashioned what for. And kind of let it do its own thing. Now I realize that that is actually going to feed back into the center, and I have a feeling it may be too dark. Like I said, I did use that dark purple, but if it does, that's okay. Something else that I'm not going to do it with this piece, I don't believe, because I'm pretty sure that this lady is wanting to use it as a cutting board, but she may not, because I'm hoping it's as pretty as what I'm thinking it will be. But I had thought my next piece that I make like this, my next piece after this for this mold is going to be a Lazy Susan for a family member, but it's going to have like poker hand and some chips and things like that. So, but what I want to do with it is I want to have it backlit with like some of those, what they call fairy lights or miniature lights or whatever the heck they are. And that way I maybe put, because that piece is going to have to be done from the bottom, essentially. Meaning I've got to put everything, instead of flipping everything over to do it upside down, I may actually have to go and put it right side up, and then when I demold it, use a burr tool around the top edges. And I want to have to talk to my husband about that, because this was his idea for somebody in the family. So I'm not too sure how I want to do it just yet, but we'll figure it out. I think that's actually going to be really pretty when it's done. That filled in those pieces very nicely. I don't see very many air bubbles so far. Do see a little bit of lint. I'll have to get them later. Alright, let's get this cleaned up real quick. Inside and the out, just to be safe. Missed a little bit in the middle. And now I'll just take a paper towel. And that's done till the next level. Alright, so eventually all of that purple will turn into, or not turn into, good grief, it'll kind of roll into the center. And I think that's really going to be very pretty, super pretty. And I can't really torch that because it's got this live vegetation, or not live, but it's got plants in there. And there's a little air bubble in there. That's weird. Anyway, it's got a little bit of some micro bubbles and things like that, but some of these plants are actually sticking up a little. Got some lint from probably from paper towels, maybe. turn on my other light here. Don't know if that'll help me find anything or not, but we'll see. I believe I got everything so far as I can tell, except for these nagging little bubbles. I don't know how that got in there. It's really down in there deep. There we go. Now, I'm not, a lot of people talk about not wanting to get a resin bloom. And essentially, that is where it looks like an oil slick on top from the alcohol, or it's not cured properly, whatever the case may be. And I think I've got everything I need to get for now. I love how that purple is just kind of sitting there right now. It might be that it's too deep, or too shallow, excuse me, to really do much. Okay, that's hard. Alright, I think we got everything except for that one little stinking spot right there. Alright guys, that's all for the moment. And I will probably do maybe one more layer, 2 at the most. So for the present time, that's all I've got. I cannot wait. I'll come back in about an hour or so and see how that looks. I can't wait to see just what that purple mica powder does. It's so pretty. Alright guys, that's all I have for now. I will see you all in a little while. And I'll see you on the flip side. Bye. Hey guys, it's Chris from Face Fun Creations. Little disclaimer, first of all, I do have my radio playing in the background. I do not have rights to any of the music that may or may not come into the video here in a few minutes. That being said, today we're going to finish this piece, put the last layer on, and I really, really, really want to get it done now because I have Christmas orders coming in for personalized gifts for a local person here in my community. And since we're doing shades of purple, let me turn you all around just a little bit. I love how this is, and I'm afraid that if I do anything else with regular resin, I'm really going to mess it up. And this piece needs to be very rigid, very strong. The lady who has ordered this is worried that if it drops, it's going to break very easily, which we all know resin can be kind of crazy sometimes. So with that being said, we are going to go in today with Let's Resin polyurethane. It does, as it says, dry white after it's completely cured. It is very thin, so it's kind of like water. So what I want to do is, we've got a couple of these. I'm going to do 2 cups. We'll do a cup of A, cup of B, and then we're going to mix them in our big container. However, I'm going to use a multitude of purples because the individual this person has ordered this for really likes purple, as I've covered before. So I'm going to be using a couple different things as far as my mica powder. I'm going to be using the Baltic Day. I have 3 different colors. We have amethyst, amber gingham, and my favorite violet purple. Good grief. Violet purple. Okay. And we're also going to use Let's Resin, chameleon powder, and grape. Just kind of, it's really pretty. So this last half of this piece, or this last piece part of this piece that I'm working on was actually inspired by a video I watched by Wendy at Toompish on her YouTube channel. So Wendy, if you're watching or if you happen to see this, thank you so much. I actually left you a comment on your video that you inspired me to finish this piece with this. I'm not going to do the marbling. I wish I could. I'm not quite ready to try that yet. However, I've got those 4 colors, and I was hoping, oh, yes I do. Maybe. Give me 1 second here. Well, since we're doing the polyurethane, glitter really won't matter too much. So, alright, I'm going to get my measurements done. 8 ounces of each, which is 1 cup of the A, 1 cup of the B. I'm going to mix up my colors, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I cannot get the lid off of this one, so we're going to have to go back to regular resin. I don't know what the deal is, but that's okay. Stress. Very, very stressful. But that's alright. We'll make this work. It just means that I can't unmold until probably late this evening, and I'll have to use extra resin in my big container to make it thick enough to do. And then we'll just mix our colors in here before we add it to that. And we got this. So, I am almost out of... I'm not going to have enough to use my... shucks. Let's resin. So, goodness. I'm going to use my J-Diction resin to finish this off. But bear with me for just a second. I gotta open this up because it is taped shut. I have not used this one yet. Alright, here we go. Now this one did come with the little pumps, but I have never had any luck with those. And even though they were in a closed sealed box, they are wrapped in plastic. And of course the user's manual with the instructions. So since I've already used J-Diction before, I know pretty much how it works. It's pretty good resin. Get this plastic off here. So we're going to use equal amounts of A and B. And since I'm going to end up using more of this than I would have had to with the polyurethane, I'll have to mix it a whole lot longer. I'm going to go ahead and do 3, maybe 4 cups in here. Just to make sure that this is going to cure up quickly. And to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. And then when I get that mixed up, I'll be back. Alright. So we're back. We've got our 4 cups of resin. And I have kind of mixed a few colors together. Now the 4 that I showed you earlier. The violet pearl, or the violet pearl, ambergris, amethyst, and the grape. And since I'm using the clear resin instead of the polyurethane, try not to Let that pop out of the cup too badly. I want to see if I have... Actually, have I used this one? I have. Alright, so we're going to actually use a little bit of my metallic, or my chameleon paste, just to give it a little bit extra color. And since that is so much resin, you can typically not over mix it. But this little step will make sure that everything's mixed up and that there shouldn't be any curing issues. So Wendy, I apologize. I cannot use your tip today. Simply because I couldn't get my polyurethane open. But, you know, that's alright. Alright, as you can see, I'm going to use quite a bit of this. And this is just a pigment paste that I got off of Temu, I believe it was. Scrape my spatula off. Like I said, I'm just wanting to give a little extra background color on top of my mica powder. Kind of block it off. Maybe, I'm hoping, give it more of a 3D effect with a dark background. Probably should not have thrown that away. Oh well. This is just going to give it a nice shimmer on top of the mica powders that I want to put in here. So I mixed this up for about 5 minutes. And of course, like I said, with the extra mixing that I'm going to use to make sure everything's incorporated very well, that should help out a lot better too. Alright. Clean that off here in a minute. And this is the colors that look like, or what it looks like all together. We're just going to add that a little bit at a time because otherwise it kind of puffs out everywhere. That's not what I want to deal with today because this is a very small space in here. I'm not going to be upset if it's translucent. It's not what I'm going for. I'm not wanting, I mean, at this point, I'm not worried about a completely opaque background. However, this, I'm hoping this turns out as pretty as what I'm thinking it will. Now, I hope you guys can see, try to move out a little bit, how pretty that shimmer is. And I'll bring the container up here in just a minute as soon as I get all my mica put in here. But just with that chameleon paste, it really added like a very smooth and silky texture. There's a lot of mixing left to do to this. Alright, so pour the rest of that in. Quite a lot actually. And I can clean this out later with a baby wipe and some alcohol. Alright, I'm going to bring this up for you guys to look at. Like I said, I don't want to just kind of fluff it all together all willy-nilly, because I don't want this stuff to go all over. I do have a dog in the house, and if it gets all over me, then he's going to inhale that, and not a good situation to be in. Alright, so my craft room, I'm going to estimate it being at roughly 65, 70 degrees inside the room. Fahrenheit, for those who are overseas, in the UK or whatever. I'm not sure what that would be for you all, 20 something Celsius maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, so this should cure up fairly good. somewhat quickly. Like I said, this is going to be my last pour for this project. Other than my table that I did for myself, this is the second biggest project that I think I've ever done. Alright. Look at those textures. Doesn't that look silky and pretty? Almost like a metallic... I don't know, it's just really beautiful. Alright. Now that we got that all mixed together, get that scraped off as much as I can, for the moment anyway. Alright, I'll lay that there because it's a silicone mat. Put my lid on my chameleon paste, and turn this around. I'm going to start on this butterfly, because it is an indented butterfly, and that's kind of literally my central piece in there. Look at those colors, guys. Looks like molten metal in there, doesn't it? So pretty. Alright, now there is a bit of mica attached to the edges, so I'm going to use just this little bit. And I'm going to scrape the sides down and try to incorporate as much of that mica powder back into what's left of the resin in my cup. That way there's no streaks on the final piece as far as like gloopy spots and whatnot. Look how pretty that is. It's so nice. This, I think, is going to be beautiful when it's finished, when I unmold it. Now, I'm thinking that I might add a top coat on the other side when this is done. Just kind of give it a little extra shine. So this might not be the last that you see of this piece just yet. However, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet. But I'll put a lot of time into this one, and I don't want to do anything that's overall going to be detrimental to the finished piece, because I know with Thanksgiving coming up, this is supposed to be a gift for the holidays. So, alright. Oops, making a mess. Alright, so get my alcohol in my box. Now, I don't have the 99%. I think this is just off a dollar store shelf, Walmart, something like that. So it's the cheapo alcohol. I just kind of spray it on my stuff. And it works just as good from the looks of it. Alright, clean off my mat. My stick for next time. And a tablecloth. By the way, I don't know if anyone else has ever thought of it, but if you go to your local discount store, I don't know if you've got a Dollar Tree or a dollar store, Family Dollar, something where you can get things for $5, $5 below, maybe. You can get these really cheap tablecloths as like a drop cloth. And then it protects what's underneath. And if you get it too messy, you can just roll it up, throw it away, and start fresh. Alright, so, see it over here. Turn the camera for you, and I'll zoom in so you can get a good look at that. I know that lamp over there is atrocious, the glare. So now I'm just going to spritz that with some alcohol. Now, because I'm not filling this mold when it's finished, I'm going to have like a rough edge around the top of this. And I'll have to use my deburring tool to clean all that up. But other than that, guys, this is it. This is the final piece. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to do a top coat yet. However, I don't know if y'all could see those bubbles popping or not, but it's pretty cool. But anyway, for right now, I will see you all on the flip side. And bye for now.